Alright, 72 F100 is back. This is episode 3. Today we're going to pull the front end off, front clip, front fenders and all that. Gonna try and do it in one piece. First thing is we gotta take the hood off of it. After we get the hood off, we can start working on getting all the wiring and stuff out of the way. And then we'll get the mounts out, get the bumper off, and then pull the front clip off. Now I'm gonna use a cherry picker to pick this thing up. I've done it before and it worked pretty good, so we'll reuse ratchet straps, hook it up with a cherry picker, and should be able to just roll it right out and set it wherever. So let's get to it. Okay, real quick before I tear this thing apart again. So this truck, we got it about 3 years ago. I put an engine in it, did a bunch of work to it. So the engine is a 460. It was the EFI engine, came out of a 97 F Super Duty. So we converted that to carburetor. So it has a kit on it, and you can see the little adapter in there. All the kit is, it comes with that little adapter right there, and that allows you to bolt a carburetor to that intake. And then right here, it has plugs where the injectors go. Those little brass plugs is what fills those injector holes. So that is basically all you need to make it a carbureted engine. And just for quick and cheap, we went with HEI. Now that was just because it was cheap. Really would have been better to do Duraspark just to make it more forward accurate or whatever, but it's ignition, it doesn't matter. So next thing you'll notice is this brake booster and proportioning valve doesn't look factory, and it's not. So that came off of a Crown Vic 05 to 11, I think. And that proportioning valve is a PV4 proportioning valve. That's part number. That's a Chevy valve, I believe. So the reason it has that is because this thing has a Crown Vic front suspension. You'll see that later on when I get the front clip off, and going to be pulling the engine out most likely too. So I'll show you that later. Now the next thing about this in the engine bay here is the Volvo power steering pump, and that's what that pump is right there. So there's the reservoir electrical connector down there, and there is that braided line that runs right there is the 6AN PTFE high pressure AN style line, and that runs down to the steering rack. It's rack and pinion because it has the Crown Vic front end. And that's how I've got power steering. Now one upgrade I would love to do, I haven't done it yet, is to get rid of this clutch fan to unlock some more horsepower. And more horsepower is the reason we did the Volvo power steering pump, because that frees up another pulley, makes the engine bay slightly cleaner, makes the engine look cleaner, and frees up horsepower. So on this side, simple. Nothing really much. I kept the factory Ford for the 97. I kept the wiring to the starter and the ignition solenoid. The battery, simple strap to hold it down. Nothing special there. And I actually have not done very much at all to the factory Ford wiring, the 72 wiring that came in this truck. Headlights and everything work perfectly fine. It's pretty impressive that this wiring this old is still good. So, moving around here. So these are Crown Vic wheels, and I got a full matching set, just painted them white because it matches the truck much better. Chrome lug nuts, of course. And moving on back, you all have already seen the rear end. I won't go over that again. So, opening up here. Fuel tank, that's actually the factory fuel tank. I did have to fix one of the vent on it so it wouldn't leak. But so here is the interior, and I mean, it's pretty rough. There's some random stuff in there right now. It's not done. Here's one of the people's favorite things about it. The headliner is a license plate pattern. It's got most of the states on it, not all of them. Starting from the top. So these visors, I actually sewed them by hand. Just used the old material, put some new leather on them. Nothing special there. Moving down, everything's pretty much factory here. This gauge cluster, we'll start there. I made this gauge cluster. This is completely custom. So all I did is took a piece of sheet metal, cut my holes in it. You can't see anything, but I took a piece of flat metal and made that shape around the top there. So I made that piece first that goes around, and then I took the flat plate and just tack welded it to it. Cut my holes in it, painted it black. Turned out really good. This has got those little tiny lights on it. That's my turn signal. And then it's got the high beam indicator is a little blue light, and that's not LEDs either. That is actually bulbs. Moving over here, kept it factory for the most part. That is an aftermarket radio. So the way that you mount this radio, that's another Volvo part there. That the radio itself is regular aftermarket, but the mount is a Volvo piece. I don't remember what the part number or anything is, but it's basically just a piece of plastic. You can buy it online, and it fits the opening in the dash perfect, and that allows you to put a radio in it. So next thing is the HVAC. It doesn't have any AC in it. It does have good heat. I did fix the heat back when I worked on it. So moving down from there, it still has the original automatic shifter. I haven't gotten rid of that yet. And of course the 5-speed. It's a ZF5 transmission. Came out of that truck with that transmission. With the engine that we got. Moving down, I did have to cut this hole out in the floor, and I put that plate down. We bought that from a salvage yard out of another truck. Just bolted it down. And the sound deadening. So it has sound deadening all around the floor. The floor is completely covered. The firewall is covered most of the way up. And underneath this, it also has sound deadening. So you can't hear anything that hits the bottom of this cab. It's fairly quiet. I mean, there's a lot of wind noise, but for the most part, it's pretty quiet. So moving on down, the pedals in this thing. So it didn't have a clutch pedal from the factory. So what we did, I had a Jeep, a 93 Cherokee, and this is the brake pedal assembly out of the Cherokee. So what I did, there it is. I took the brake pedal assembly, which includes the bracket up there that it mounts with. So that's all Jeep. And then where the clutch attaches, the clutch rod, is actually, it fit on that little stud perfectly to the clutch rod there. So that worked out really good. I was able to get a really nice clutch pedal. So that was good. So for the brakes, I did have to weld that rod together. You can barely see it. The welds are okay. They've held up for a good amount of time. I'm not very worried about it. And you probably noticed the fake leather and insulation on the firewall. I did that to help with the heat, and I just glued it up there. Nothing special, just fake leather glued up on insulation. Let's see. This is the boot for the shifter is taped down because I couldn't find any, I couldn't figure out how I was going to mount it. I need a plastic piece that clips it to the floor there. The seat's original. Fuel tank is original. Nothing special back there. It was clean at one point, but every time you sit in it, the foam comes off the seat and gets everywhere. I really want to swap the seat out for a leather rear seat from like a crew cab, Ford from like 2016 or something. That would make a really nice seat. The door panels are also original. They're in really good shape. That one, can't really see it, but they're in really good shape. All I did is I took the material off of it and made a new backing piece, and that turned out really nice. Looks good. The windows, pretty good shape. I do have new sills to go down in here, so I'll be fixing that soon. That's where a lot of the wind noise is coming from. Of course, you got the vent windows and the big mirrors. Door doesn't shut very good because I did put the new door sill in there, so you got to slam it pretty much. So that's pretty much it for the front. I can't think of anything else we've done. We did go over the truck with a wire pads and clean up a lot of the rusty stuff. The roof actually turned out really nice. Can't really see it, but a lot of the paint started showing. I mean, it was really bad rusty, but now you can actually see some of the paint still on it. It's not bad. It's got a really good patina, so we're just gonna leave it like that. I do wish it was the original color still, but thanks to the previous owners, it's kind of is what it is now. So we're just gonna clean it. Probably take Brillo pad, or which that's what we used the first time. We'll probably take a different, like a Scotch-Brite pad or something, and clean it up again and see if we can get it to some of that blue paint off, so it looks more of the original paint showing. And then we'll cover it in linseed oil, which I did it once last year, and it's worn off. It's been 8 or so months now. It's been a long time, so we'll retreat it again. Moving on back, custom drive shaft we had made for it, and of course the 8.8 rear end I've been working on for the past couple days. And that last video I did show, I had to show this. So this is that bushing that elongated. It's much more this way than it is that way. It kind of flattened out. That's okay. We'll get the polyurethane, get it with the thicker sleeve welded on there. Shouldn't be an issue. Should be easy to fix. It's kind of got the front of this thing is pointed up a little bit more than it should on the pinion angle there, but we can fix that with the adjustment on those bars. It's not a problem. I think that's it for now. That's all I can think of at the moment. Okay, here's what I got so far. Everything's disconnected in the front end. Pulled it forward a little bit. Got all the coolant drained for the most part. My bucket of hardware there. Next step's gonna be lifting this thing up and pulling it off of here. I'm not really sure how it's gonna slide past those headers, but we'll see. I believe I got all my wires disconnected. I don't see anything. First thing I'll do is get the radiator all the way out. It's disconnected everywhere. I just finished draining coolant. We'll get that and then see if I can pull this thing off. Okay, you saw me take the front clip off, so this is what I've got. Now I started getting all the wires disconnected here. When I made this harness, I just loomed it all up nicely just to make it easier to do this kind of work. I didn't really plan on taking it apart again like this, but this time around I will make it pretty nice. It'll be almost perfect when I'm done. So got the coolant lines disconnected. Coolant's basically drained. May or may not recycle that. Okay, one more thing while I'm in here. This is the Crown Vic front end. You can see the struts and the arms and all that. I used the cheap boxes that you can find on eBay for my frame mounts. There's the boxes. Steering rack, Crown Vic stuff. There's the that's the factory charcoal canister for this truck. I kept it because you got to vent your gas tank somehow, and wanted to keep it as safe as possible. You can see that side. Alternator. That alternator is actually a GM alternator. Bought a bracket for it. Got new pulleys. Moving on this side, you can see there's my custom motor mounts I made in there. That's just a piece of a hitch welded to a sleeve and then polyurethane bushings. 1/4 inch flat plate for the bottom, and there's a bolt through the bottom of that plate. I captured a nut in there. I welded a nut so it's captured, and that way I can unbolt it from the bottom if I ever need to take the mounts off. There's my steering shaft. Now that steering shaft is actually out of a Cherokee. All I did is get a double D shaft adapter to the triangle shape on the Crown Vic rack. Double D is a pretty common steering shaft. I was able to reuse that part from that Jeep I parted out. And then there's the top portion. All I did is I used a grinder to clean up the forward shaft here, then bolted that onto it, and I used the bolt that goes through the clamp style. I used that bolt, and then I also drilled a hole through it and put my own bolt in it as well, just for that added security, because I definitely don't want to lose steering. And there you can see my headers. You'll see them better after I get the cab out of the way. But that's all I got for now, so let's do the cab. Alright, here's where I'm at. So, got the steering disconnected, got my brake master disconnected, got my ground strap disconnected, throttle's disconnected, got the front cab mounts loosened. This one actually broke on this side. On this side, now this is a homemade cab mount. This is pretty impressive. They just folded up a piece of metal, bolted it on there. I mean, I've done the floor pans, but the rear portion of this cab mount's pretty rough. I'm not sure if I'll fix that or not, but seems to be holding as it is. We'll see how bad it is once I get the cab lifted up a little bit. and move back. But the next step is to get the tank out, and I believe the bolts are underneath the tank for the rear mounts. So we'll get that done and then see what we find back there. Okay, got the fuel tank tilted forward. This is something that I haven't seen on other channels yet. So if you look in here, you'll see the hole, which is right there. There's one on both sides, and that is where your cab mount bolts go. And this here, as you can see, is the cab mount bolt. Now mine came out no problem, even as rusty as they were. So, alright, now that those are out of the way, we can lift up on the cab and see if there's anything else holding it. So, I'll have to find a way to do that, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, I've almost got it up off there. There you can see the gap. I don't think I got it right in the middle, but it's coming up. It's tilted, but so, oh, you can really see. Yeah, I need to move my strap over a little bit, but this is kind of working. I'm just gonna roll the frame out from under it, strapped it underneath there. Maybe not the safest way, but that's as high as I really got to go, because all I've got to do now is roll the frame forward. So next step is to get them fuel lines disconnected. I forgot. I always forget about the fuel lines for some reason. So I'll get that done, and then we'll roll this thing back. Alright, there it is. Cab is moved back. The chassis rolled forward. So here you can see my custom long tube headers. This side turned out better than the other. The angle of it is pretty decent. It is fairly close to the clutch. I didn't do a very good job there. It's, oh, can't see, but it's pretty much touching. I mean, it's not touching, but it's close. And then down here on the cross member, it is touching down there. So now I did make these myself. They're not the best, but they do look cool and they do work really well. Now the other side is even worse, but in a different way. So this one ended up being too high, and you can see the angle of that. It just shoots straight down right at the cross member. I mean, it's barely any room there. So this one, I'll just angle it up a little bit. Should be pretty good there. Now right here is something I've ran into before. Well, I had a problem with this 2 times because I had to replace starter. I was having problems. For some reason it would chew up the ring gear, but started out with the automatic starter. That was wrong. Figured that out. Got a manual starter put on it. Well, the ring gear was junk, so it ate it up. So new ring gear, new starter, and now it's perfect. No problem. I did, however, have to the lower bolt hole in the starter is not threaded. As you can see, the upper bolt hole is threaded. There's the bolt going through it. The lower bolt hole, I had to egg out to kind of give it some room to make the starter move like that, so it would have more engagement on the ring gear, and that seems to have fixed it. I'm not sure what it is, but something with these starters, for some reason, if you shim them, it's not really shimming, it's more of a slot you drill. It's not even a slot really, it's more like you just make the hole elongated that way. That way you can swing the starter in more. It's it works. I'm not sure why it's like that, but it just works. So, but there is the ZF5 transmission. Okay, I don't know if this has ever happened to anyone else, but I was just pulling the clutch off this thing, and for whatever reason, it was full of fluid, and that was broke and pushed out. So I pushed the snap ring back in, but I think I need a new clutch setup now. It's pretty bad. I got fluid everywhere. It's basically brake fluid. It's all over the frame. I guess I'll leave that though, because it might help strip the old paint, right? Wow. I've never seen one that bad. Like, it was fine until I pulled the boot off, and as soon as the boot, like, that seal was broke, it just exploded everywhere. So watch out for that if you're ever working on a ZF5 with a hydraulic clutch. They all were hydraulic, I guess, but yeah, never seen that before. Alright, that's it for this week's video. This end of episode 4. So next time when we come back, we'll get the spring cleaned up, get the exhaust redone. Those headers have got to be fixed. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see y'all later.